If you're in healthcare, you've probably heard of figs. And if you haven't tried them yet, let us just say total game changer. These scrubs are made specifically for awesome humans, designed to handle long shifts, constant movement, and everything the job throws at you. Also, you can perform at your best. Gretch, I have a bunch of friends who are doctors, and they all love figs. They say once you wear figs, there is no going back.
Figs have a modern tailored fit. These aren't your boxy one-size-fits-all scrubs. They're designed with precision and come in flattering styles and colors with smart pockets, secure zippers, and thoughtful details so you can perform your best. So wherever you wear figs, in the ER, on rounds, at the clinic, or even just running errands after a shift, make it count. Go to wearfigs.com and use the code FIGSRX to get 15% off your first order. That's wearfigs.com, code FIGSRX for 15% off your first order. Figs, where do you wear figs?
Gretchen, we always on this podcast talk about the importance of getting good sleep. And part of good sleep is a great pillow. There are side sleepers, back sleepers, even starfishes. I'm a side sleeper. And Gretchen, I got a pillow from Coop Sleep Goods that is so perfect for me. I went from using like 2 pillows together that were not quite right to using my one Coop pillow, which is perfect. I love it.
Visit coopsleepgoods.com /happier to get 20% off your first order. That's COOP sleepgoods.com /happier.
Lemonada.
Hello, we're here for More Happier, a podcast where we talk about getting happier. It's weekend listening, more observations and reflections, but a looser weekend vibe. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hi, Gretch.
Today we're going to talk about getting a new dog. Wow. Yeah, it's huge. But first, something making us happier. Elizabeth, what's something that's making you happier?
Well, Gretch, I am getting happier because I am finding that I'm able to actually enjoy doing Orange Theory a lot more. So, I've been doing Orange Theory, my fitness class, and I've always been happy I'm doing it, and I like it on a meta level.
Yes.
But now, as I get a bit stronger and my cardio is improving, I can actually enjoy the class. So I'm not just filled with waiting for it to be over the whole time.
And do you think it's because it's physically easier or you've mastered it so it's more of the fun of activity, or what is it?
I think it's a combination. It doesn't really get easier, as you know, with exercise, because then you're just pushing harder. But I do feel more capable. So most of the time, I'm not really dying to the level that I was, where you really feel like just sick. And I think I am getting more comfortable with sort of the different activities. So I don't have that anxiety of not understanding what's going on.
There is kind of a pleasure of knowing the routine. Like when I took aerobics for all those years, it wasn't like I ever really enjoyed it, but I enjoyed being able to follow along with some skill instead of just flailing about.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I'm just loving that. Now, one thing that I realize, if I miss, so, I'm going twice a week, but if I miss even one class, it's so much harder to go back. I mean, you talk about this all the time, but for sure, the more I do it, the more I like it and the easier it is to go.
Wait, because you feel like, oh, now I remember what it's like not to go?
I don't know. It just feels, I guess. Just seems harder to go back. So I'm really trying to use that to keep myself going.
Right.
Knowing, okay, if I don't go today, then Monday is really going to feel like a burden. But if I go today, Monday will feel like, hey, no big deal.
Isn't that interesting? I think there's so much to that. It's easy to overlook that fact. I think this comes back to this thing that a lot of times we think, oh, if I lighten my load or make things easier, I'll be more likely to stick to it or do it. But it's just not the case.
Right.
It's the rule of more. So sometimes doing more is better. And so, wait, remind me, how many times for your 25 and 25, what's your aim for the year?
So my aim is to do Orange Theory 100 times in 2025. Wow. Now, I must tell you, I need to pick it up to get there. I'm going to have to go 3 times a week, a bunch, which I have not done yet. So that's another reason I'm really trying to be be religious about these twice a week so that I can build up and do 3 times a week, a bunch of times. So
right. Well, you got sick right at the beginning of the year, and that put you.
That was last year, Gretchen. You're remembering last year when I got sick at the beginning of the year. It was
That
fires.
was 2024. Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. Wow. Time does fly.
But anyway, it's all happening. I'm doing
great.
it.
That's
it's
great.
fun.
That's great.
I've heard from people in the Happier in Hollywood Facebook group that they've started doing Orange Theory. So that's very gratifying.
That's great.
But Gretch, what is making you more happier? I mean, I know the answer to this question, but let's get into it.
Well, we have our puppy, Taffy. And the name was chosen by Eliza and Eleanor. It was hotly debated. And I have to say, I was very full of dread. The week before, I had a pit in my stomach thinking, oh my gosh, what have we gotten ourselves into? But now she's here. And of course, it's so exciting. We're just constantly taking pictures and videos and oohing and awing. And, it's just incredibly fun and brings this whole new energy into our household. So that is definitely what's making me happier.
Well, she is so cute.
Yeah, she's so cute.
Yeah. So, Gretch, tell me about the dread. What was the dread about?
The dread. There are many levels of dread. Okay, first of all, I do not do well with change. Elizabeth, I don't know if you've ever noticed that about me, but I struggle with change. So that's a change. And in our minds knew what a big responsibility it would be to get a puppy, but it wasn't until it was imminent that I think we really started to grasp the fact that Barnaby, who's a 10-year-old dog and is easy and chill and very easy to have around, and you don't have to think about it that much, that we were going to have a whole new dog that was going to require us to figure out a bunch of things. And it's always, Elizabeth, you and I always say this to each other, it's never the dog's fault. It's always us getting trained and just realizing how little we knew. And we were very swept along with Eliza and Eleanor's enthusiasm. They were so, so excited. And I think we were just yes, it's going to be great. It'll be so cute. And then, of course, it was on the other side of my book tour. And do you ever have this thing where there's something big in between you and something else? It's like a fence you can't see over. So you're just la, 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 that's just going to happen in the future. That's no big deal.
Absolutely.
This happens to me with the holidays. I'm it'll happen after the holidays. And so then it'll be no big deal because the holidays will be over. And so I'll have nothing but free time and energy to devote to anything. And then it happens and you're oh, wait, it's not like I'm in this vast expanse of time and freedom. And so I had my book tour, which was amazing, but it took a lot out of me. And then I came home, and then the next day is when we got Taffy. And I think just as those days were counting down, I was thinking, okay, do we have what we need right away? Do we know what we're doing? Do we have a plan? Now, it is easier because we've already had Barnaby. So we know a veterinary practice that's just 2 blocks from our house that we love. And we know the other dogs in the neighborhood because we've been paying attention to the dogs in the neighborhood. We have really great dogs in our neighborhood. So that's really nice. So it is a lot easier the second time, but I think that was the dread, was just and it's a big commitment. I remember when we got Barnaby saying to Jamie, Barnaby may live under our roof longer than Eliza and Eleanor did. And now we're starting all over again. And it's just thinking it's a big decision.
Yeah. Well, I have many questions about it, which I am going to ask you after the break. Gretchen, we always on this podcast talk about the importance of getting good sleep. And part of good sleep is a great pillow. There are side sleepers, back sleepers, even starfishes. I'm a side sleeper. And it really matters how your pillow fits with your head, whatever position you're in. Gretchen, I got a pillow from Coop Sleep Goods that is so perfect for me. I went from using 2 pillows together that were not quite right to using my one Coop pillow, which is perfect. And it's for cool sleepers, so I don't wake up all sweaty in the middle of the night. I love it.
And also with Coop Sleep Goods, you get a 100-night free trial. 86% of sleepers reported better sleep after switching their pillows to Coop. There are more than 100,000 five-star reviews and over 1 million happy sleepers. Visit coopsleepgoods.com/happier to get 20% off your first order. That's COOP sleepgoods.com/happier.
Hey, Julia Louis-Dreyfus here. If you listen to me on my Wiser Than Me podcast, you probably already know that I'm an investor and an evangelist for the Mill Food Recycler. There are a lot of reasons to love Mill, but for me, it's all about the impact. Keeping food out of the garbage is one of the most powerful things we can do to help the planet every single day. We're talking banana peels, carrot tops, old takeout. When that stuff heads to the landfill, it becomes a huge driver of climate change. If you already compost, great. But of course, there's the smell, the flies, the running to the curb every day with a little leaking compost bag made of cornstarch. That's where Mill comes in. It makes keeping food out of the trash as easy as dropping it in. It can handle nearly anything, from a turkey carcass to like 20 avocado pits. It works automatically while you sleep. You can keep filling it for weeks, and it never, ever smells. Mill makes dry, nutrient-rich grounds that you can use in your garden, add to your compost, feed to your chickens, or Mill can get them back to a small farm for you. But you kind of have to live with Mill to really get it, and that's why they offer a risk-free trial. Go to mill.com/wiser for an exclusive offer.
Okay, Gretch, we are back, and there are questions I've been meaning to ask you about having your new puppy, Taffy.
Yes.
What's it like having a puppy?
Well, one thing that's interesting is, so Barnaby is a cockapoo, and he's very big for a cockapoo. That was kind of a surprise to us. He's like, and every dog is different. And so he turned out very big. And Taffy is a cavapoo, so she's much smaller. She's really small. She can easily fit under a bed and like walk around under there, which she loves to do. And it's just so adorable. I mean, she's just so small and so determined, it's just so funny when you can see a dog get an idea. Barnaby has his very, very favorite toy. And every once in a while you'll see him he'll be stretched out snoozing, and then he'll just get up and be like, where's that toy? And then you'll see him go up, and then he'll bring it back. And he's just like, where was that thing? Like he's looking for his phone. And with Taffy, you throw a toy, and then she's like, well, okay, I'm going to go get it. I'm going to put up a big fight. It's this stuffed alligator, and I'm just going to shake it back and forth. And she's so tiny. So it is just incredibly endearing. You do find yourself just gazing at, they're just so small and cute. But here's something funny, because I'm constantly picking her up and putting her down. My legs were really sore, and I was like, what's going on with my legs? And then I'm like, I'm getting all this exercise because, I'm not leaning. I'm being very wise and not leaning over and picking, how you're not supposed to hinge from your back, because I'm always careful of my back. So I've been doing all these squats, essentially, to scoop her up. And so I'm getting good leg exercise, but it is incredibly sweet.
So just for understanding, so Barnaby, is he like 60 pounds?
He's like 40 pouns.
40 pounds. And then how big do you
now
think
he
she'll
seems
be?
enormous to us. It always seemed kind of like a medium-sized dog, but now he looks like a giant.
So how big will Taffy be, do you think?
I forgot to ask, but small.
Okay.
I meant to ask that, and when we go to the vet for the next set of shots, we'll ask that.
A question I have, Gretch, is you're in your empty nest / open door phase, of course. Yeah. So is this a bonding thing for you and Jamie? I mean, I assume the answer is yes. I know for Adam and me, when we got Nacho and Daisy, it was super bonding for the whole family. But of course, you don't have Eliza and Eleanor there.
Well, can I be honest?
Yes.
Yesterday, Jamie said to me in like a very calm way, he's like, you're being very critical of me, and it's starting to get on my nerves. Because you know how I am. It's like, for me, I feel like there's all these rules, and you're not doing it exactly right. Like, you're supposed to do this. I'm trying to think of an example where it's just like, this is the rule, we should follow it. And Jamie's like, I don't think that rule really matters, or I think this is fine. Or like, I'm going to give her a little piece of this treat. I'm like, but we have to give her treats that are only for puppies. That's not even a real example, but it's that kind of thing. And so I was constantly sort of criticizing him for not doing it exactly right. And what I've learned from Jamie as a questioner is that a lot of times there's a lot of ways to do something right. And like a lot of the things that I'm fussing about aren't mattering. So then I felt very, very apologetic. And I'm like, this just gets me all high strung. And he's like, yes, I get it. I understand, but it's annoying. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to back down. But so in that way, there was a little bit of tension. And I cannot swear to you that that will not happen again, because you know how I get. I'm just like, this is the rule.
Yes.
And Jamie's a questioner. But in general, I would say yes, because it's fun. It's something that we're like, oh, look at this. And he'll call and say, how's she doing? Or if I'm out and I'm coming back, I'm like, what happened while I was gone? You know, it just feels like there's this whole little family adventure. And so it does give you a lot to talk about and a lot to plan. And then we went to Petco before she came, and we wanted to get some stuff for Barnaby too, because we don't want him to feel left out. So we went and we picked out a bunch of stuff. And so that's fun. So it is bonding, but I want to make sure that it's positive bonding and that it's not, you know how they say, like, you have to reinforce positive behavior in a dog, and then the bad things, you don't want to reinforce it. So I, like, in myself, I want to remember Jamie is an actor in this as well, and I do not want to give him negative reinforcement. And I appreciated that he said it to me in a very kind of like, he wasn't reactive. He was just, you're starting to get on my nerves with this. And I'm
That's good. He let you know.
I hear you. I hear you, man. So
how are the girls handling not being there? Because of course they are such dog people. Are they feeling a lot of FOMO?
Yeah. So, well, Eleanor sends texts begging for videos every single day. And so it's just like more videos, more videos, more videos. So I've been doing that. And so she's very excited. So she'll be home from school fairly soon. So she'll still be home for the puppy phase. And that was something that was really important. Taffy will still definitely be little. So, of course, Eliza lives in New York City. So she came over right away when Taffy arrived and met her. And there's a day where both Jamie and I need to be out doing stuff. So she's going to come over. And she has a lot of papers to write. So she's just going to be with Taffy. And then when Taffy's asleep or whatever, she'll be working on her papers. So that's nice. Of course, we don't have her at the ready all the time because she's got all her own stuff to do. But it is nice. And then it's fun because, you know, my in-laws live right around the corner. So twice in one day, I ran into my mother-in-law out walking Taffy. I was out walking Taffy and my mother-in-law went out. And then I was, you know, an hour later, I was out again. And then my mother-in-law was coming back. And that's really fun. They love having a dog who visits. They wouldn't want to have their own dog, but they love having a dog who visits. And it's also nice for Barnaby because Jamie took Barnaby over there so that Barnaby would get a lot of love and attention.
Gretchen, I'm so curious to hear how Barnaby is handling all this. That is the big, big question.
I know. Mom just texted me today, like, how's Barnaby? Everybody's very concerned about Barnaby. Nobody is neglecting Barnaby. Nobody is forgetting Barnaby. I would say, and we worked with a trainer, and the trainer is like, he's behaving completely normally, and this is just like totally fine. I would say he's like, you've got to be kidding me, face. And then he sort of walks away, and she's very interested in him. But he's just like, I'm over this puppy energy. And he'll sit, he rarely barks or goes roof. But he'll do it sometimes, like if his water bowl is empty, he'll like very politely just go woof, sort of like, can I please call your attention to something?
Right.
And now what he'll do is he'll be nearby and he'll lie down very calmly, but then every once in a while he'll just go woof. But we do not let her run to him or like jump all at him or anything like that. And so we basically are giving them a lot of space, but now we're starting to bring them closer together so that they can parallel play or get used to each other. And it's even in 2 days, it just feels much more amicable. It's not like Nacho and Daisy where they're running together and they're like this joyful pair. But I can imagine that the day will come when they will be hanging out together. But people say this is very common. If you have an older dog and a younger dog, older dogs often are not that interested in puppy energy. And puppies, of course, are like jumping all over every dog they can find. But so we did talk to a trainer to make sure that both of them felt good about it. We don't want them to have a bad experience.
Yeah. No, I bet Barnaby's going to end up loving Taffy, and I bet they'll
He's a
sleep
very
together.
social dog, and he's a very chill dog. And so I think we have every reason to feel like it's going to be fine. The one thing that Barnaby has is he has one toy that's super special. And it's funny because Elizabeth growing up, Paddywhack did not really care about toys very much. But Barnaby has a few toys he really likes, and there's one toy that is super, super special. And we're just like, okay, we need to make sure that that toy is never where she could get to it, because he would not be happy if she was just dragging it around. She's in that phase where she likes to drag things. It's so cute. You know, where like she'll pick up like there was a washcloth on the floor. And she just like picked it up and just started dragging it. And I was like, that's an amazing toy. It was very cute.
Oh, it's so cute.
That's very cute.
Yes. My dogs, of course, with toys, they destroy them within 5 minutes. They've got the little squeaker out and they're stuffing everywhere.
Do they still? That's interesting.
Oh, yes.
Well, do you remember that when you first got Nacho, I think I came over and we had our back turned for like 5 minutes and he had completely emptied out the stuffing in an outdoor chair.
Yes, I do remember that. No, they don't do that anymore, but they do destroy toys.
They do destroy toys. Yeah.
Coming up, we have a spotlight on a tool, and I have another question for you. But first, this break. Are you a trailblazer, a risk taker, someone with countless tales of epic adventure? Well, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm working on it. Even the boldest among us started off small, daring themselves to reach greater goals each day. If you're looking to take on a challenge like that, the Defender is too. It's a vehicle built for drivers capable of great things, whether they're headed toward uncharted territory or just a weekend getaway.
Adventure seekers won't want to miss Destination Defender, an epic weekend festival designed for Defender owners and enthusiasts taking place in Port Jervis, New York from May 16th through 18th. This unforgettable weekend includes inspiring talks, off-road driving courses, chef tastings, and live music. To learn more, please visit DestinationDefenderUSA.com. Explore the full Defender lineup at LandRoverUSA.com.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. It is so important that we all have a support system. Gretch, you're a huge support for me, as our mom and dad. We've got a great supportive family. Nonetheless, there are times in my life when I have really turned to a therapist to give me even more advice and support. Therapy can be a source of support for any area in your life. Sometimes you just want to shift the focus from doing it all to knowing we're better when we ask for help.
BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Gretchen Rubin to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Gretchen Rubin.
Okay, Gretch, we're back with this week's Spotlight on a Tool.
Well, it is Read 25 and 25. We've heard from so many listeners who are loving 25 and 25. When I was on my tour, I talked to so many people who were doing Read 25 and 25. And we are partnering with Bookshop, which is the online platform that serves indie bookstores. And all month long, Bookshop is offering great ways to support indies. So you can learn how you can support your favorite independent bookstore and enjoy a fun perk from Bookshop. Just go to happiercast.com/read25 and 25 for reading for all.
Yay. All right, Gretchen. So I'm still on the subject of Taffy here. Today's all about Taffy and your new dog.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you are an upholder and you are a bit rigid and you don't like things to change.
Yep.
So how are you handling that? What are you doing?
Well, I do feel like this is the kind of thing that is hard for me to manage because I get very focused on what are the rules and am I following the rules right? And then, of course, a lot of it is, well, it depends on your puppy. How long should you wait before she has water? And then you take her outside and you kind of have to learn the ways of your puppy. And so then that requires flexibility and learning and making mistakes. And that makes me tense. But one of the things I'm reminding myself, and I feel like I should turn this into a secret of adulthood, but it's still too unfocused in my mind, is I remember this before Eliza and Eleanor were born. And I remember it before when we got Barnaby, is that all these rules feel very confusing and complicated, but it does get more clear when you're actually confronted with a baby or a puppy. You start to see the point and you can be like, okay, this works or this doesn't, or you sort of get in the groove. And I reminded myself, okay, I've got all these printouts and all these things that I'm reminding myself and like, oh, if she's going pee outside, don't offer a treat right away because that'll distract her. So you have to wait. But then you could say, whatever. And I'm trying to remember all these things. And then you're like, it gets easier once you're actually doing it. I guess that's what I would say is I think that it actually is easier once you're doing it and not just contemplating it. And that is true. And, it's a big responsibility. And I don't like responsibilities. I don't like errands. I don't like chores. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's like go to the vet for the vaccinations and you have to have the negative fecal sample and you have to, it's just all that stuff. And here's another thing. And we kind of touched on this before, like I'm an all or nothing person and I think it's easier to do things every day. And this is something that upholders I have often heard is that we get stressed out when we can't stick to our usual habits. Some people feel like, taking time off from my habits is like a treat. And if I want to comfort myself, I'll sort of let myself off the hook. But actually, for upholders generally often, and certainly for me, I feel more comforted by keeping my habits. Mm-hmm. But I just decided it was going to be too wild and there's all these new claims on my time and energy. And so what I decided to do was with going to the Met every day and doing watercolor every day, I was just going to, for 2 weeks, say, I'm not going to do it. I'm taking 2 weeks off. One of my secrets of adulthood is what you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to do at the end of 2 weeks, but I'm like, I will have a lot more clarity at the end of 2 weeks. So I'm just, for these 2 weeks, I'm just putting those two things aside. And that is making me feel calmer because I think if I were trying to wedge that in, that would just give me a lot of added stress. And this is something that upholders can do. We can tighten. We can become choked by our own red tape that we have put on ourselves. And I was like, I want to make this calm. I don't want to get high strung and worked up so that I'm snapping at Jamie.
More.
This is supposed to be fun. It's all going to work out. And so I just decided, but not to feel like day to day. I didn't want to feel like I was making excuses. I wanted to feel like I'm putting myself on hiatus. I'm making
a mindful choice.
A mindful choice.
Good.
When people talk about making a mindful exception, do you plan it in advance? Do you enjoy it when it's happening? And do you look back on it with satisfaction? And you feel like, okay, I did what I said I would do. And so that's what I decided that I would just say, like, I'm going to take 2 weeks off. And of course, though, you know how it is. It's the power of the streak. Like the end of 25, when it's like, did you do watercolor every day in 2025? I'll be like, dang it. I didn't.
But I'm proud of you. I think that was a smart idea because I think that would have been overwhelming. And I think life happens and you need to adjust to it. And
yes.
You don't feel bad when you don't go to the Met or do watercolor because you're on book tour.
Right, yes. Oh, well, that's a good analogy, right? Well, no, I did do watercolor on book tour. I did do watercolor on book tour. Yes.
So I think this is similar. So just,
right.
This is taffy time.
Taffy
just
time. Ooh, I like that.
Taffy time.
It's taffy time. Right. It's a season of life. Well, and then also one thing that I remembered is both with Eliza and Eleanor and with Barnaby, I remember later thinking I didn't enjoy that super new time enough. I was so worried, again, about doing everything right and like rushing through the stages and like, was I getting my work done? That I didn't really revel in it. Because the thing is, in the long view of a person's career, if it slows down here and there, like you can make it up and just enjoy it. This is a fleeting time. Like when it's happening, the days are long, but the years are short. All these things that I've experienced before, I keep experiencing and have to keep learning the same lessons over and over again, which is, I feel like, oh my gosh, she's never going to be trained to go outside. But then she will, and we'll never think about it again.
Exactly. You'll never think about it again.
A bazillion dogs learn this, and she will too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Gretch, finally, we have some dog-related secrets of adulthood and a dog-related quote.
Yeah, usually I have a quotation, but I realize that I have several secrets of adulthood that are related to dogs, which I kind of hadn't realized. So here are some of my favorites. So the first secret of adulthood is a young child, or better yet, a friendly dog, makes conversation easier by smoothing over awkward pauses or supplying an excuse to change the subject. Don't you find that to be true?
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Be as happy to see your spouse as your dog is happy. Tell your spouse you love them as often as you tell your children. This is one thing I always think about Jamie is I don't want my dogs to seem happier to see him than I am happy to see him. think that's
Good
good.
advice.
And then Elizabeth, my whole big collection of aphorisms that I wrote, some were Secrets of Adulthood, and those are the best ones of those went into the book, Secrets of Adulthood. But then there were some aphorisms that I would call mere observations, where they didn't have a secret of adulthood. They didn't tell you how to make a decision or deal with procrastination or whatever. They're just observations. And funnily enough, do you remember that Mom thought that maybe this should be the title of the book, Secrets of Adulthood, which is A Dog Doesn't Gaze at a Waterfall. But in the end, it didn't even appear in the book because I decided it was a mere observation. But I do think it's an interesting observation, which is what is the difference?
I love that observation.
Yes.
And I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah, that whole conversation. A dog doesn't gaze at a waterfall. And here is an aphorism that I have to say I always thought was a folk proverb. I didn't realize that it was actually attributed to an actual person. And that is the aphorism, even a dog distinguishes between being stumbled over and being kicked. That's a line from The Common Law by Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. And I love that, which is sometimes you get injured by accident and sometimes you get injured on purpose, and it matters.
Absolutely. You know, I love your Secrets of Adulthood, Gretch.
Oh, thanks. So, Elizabeth, are you feeling happier?
Yes, I am feeling happier. Thank you to Chuck. Bye, Gretch.
Bye, Elizabeth. The best time to start a happiness project is 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
So, Gretch, where's Taffy sleeping?
She is in an airline carrier that we have on a coffee table in our bedroom at night. And so she knows that we're there. And she has slept from 10 to 6:30.
Oh,
straight through the night.
great.
And the first night she sort of whimpered and I just said, it's time to go to sleep, time to go to sleep. And she would go right back to sleep. And they say it's because they know you're there.
Uh-huh.
And then during the day, when she's napping, she sleeps in the carrier in the room by herself.
Okay,
Because
good.
they say it's important for them to spend time by themselves so they don't get separation anxiety. So the sleeping at night is going very, very well.
Well, good. That's huge.
That's huge. From the Onward Project.